Okay. Let's start this video off with an observation. Not on this player, not on the team that he plays for, not even on the head coach of the team that he plays for. I want to start this video out with an observation on us, the fans. Because I'll say that there are a very particular number of Vancouver Canucks fans that are going to come out here and watch this video and have a very specific idea in their minds as to the narrative I'm trying to paint. This narrative will paint the coach of the team poorly. But there also can be the opposing folks going out there and looking at this situation and saying, wait a minute, maybe things are not going well because this player isn't that great. What are we seeing here? Are we seeing a sophomore slump? Or are we seeing a coach ruining a player? I think some Vancouver fans want to see this player, Matvei Michkov, continue to have a struggling start to the season. Not because they care about the player and his development, but because they want to see the coach get all the rocks thrown his way when it comes to ruining top talent. Now, what exactly am I referring to here? Well, this is Matvei Michkov, Philadelphia Flyers' 7th overall pick in 2023, 20-year-old guy, and one of the best rookies in the National Hockey League last year. He had 63 points in 80 games, 26 goals, and 37 assists. The thing is, despite the fact that Matvei Michkov is a Russian hockey player with very particular skills, he can do crazy deeks, he has incredible hockey IQ and vision, this is a guy that John Tortorella acquiesced to and said, I can't beat these guys. They want to go out there and do Michigans, they're going to do it. I got to get with the times. This is the player that changed John Tortorella's POV on how hockey is played in 2025. And last year you saw Michkov get 20-minute games. Throughout the course of the year, there were some games where he had 23 minutes. He would produce, and he was a 60-point guy, and he was very highly utilized by John Tortorella, especially in the second half of the year. But now, in 2025-2026, Matvei Michkov has 0 points in 2 games. And it's only been 2 games, so you can say, it's the beginning of a slow start for the guy. That's it. Sophomore slump, be damned. Is that really the case here? Because in the first 2 games that Matvei Michkov has played, he has gotten 14 minutes and 54 seconds against the Panthers and 13 minutes and 27 seconds of ice time versus Carolina in an overtime game. Now, if you want to see what happened with Michkov in the overtime game, well, this is what Charlie O'Connor went out there and posted. Michkov hadn't gotten a shift in OT. He had a bad turnover late in regulation that led to a transition rush for Carolina. And then some of the comments go out there and say, hey, I don't care what Michkov did in the first 60 minutes. Not putting him on in the ice in OT is malpractice. I thought we were done with the circus. Why play Zegras and Michkov together all preseason to split them up once the real game starts? I don't like Rick Tocchet's coaching already. This is what Rick Tocchet went out there and said about Michkov not getting a shift in OT, and whether it had to do with his late turnover. I just wanted the guys who I thought were skating. Now, that's not even the craziest thing here. That's not particularly the reason why we're making this video. The reason we're making this video is because Rick Tocchet, yesterday in the morning, had himself a pre-game interview about what he's expecting heading into Saturday's match versus Carolina. And in this video interview, Tocchet goes out there and specifically dives into what his expectations are of Matvei Michkov. Rick Tocchet essentially says that he wants Matvei Michkov to become more of a north-directioned player. To be a little bit less creative when the time doesn't call for it, and to be able to play hockey in the ways that he wants to instead. Now, that's paraphrasing what it is that Tocchet says in this 4-minute, 47-second clip, but he straight up says in here that, yeah, Michkov is creative and stuff, and you want him to do that, but there's a time and a place, essentially. And the quote tweets are having a field day with this. Take a look at the top reply by Nux0, Rick Tocchet making Michkov quote-unquote slow his game down and play a North style. This is another future star that he's going to ruin. Michkov is one of the most individually skilled guys in the league, and Tocchet has been making him practice passing to Juleson at the point. Another reply says that Tocchet is reprogramming Michkov, and it's begun. By next season, he'll be leaking to Saravalli that he doesn't think he can win with this guy in the lineup. Half-heartedly joking, by the way, this comment is. Tocchet saying that he doesn't like that Michkov likes to slow the game down and bring it back, and he wants him to play more north-south. Aside from a short period in which his team went on a generational PDO bender, every Tocchet-coached team has been mid to bad. This clip gives you a good insight into why. He's not been in Philly 6 months, and he's already working on ruining one of hockey's best prospects. Of course, Vancouver fans are going out there and checking out and responding to this Rick Tocchet discourse, and this is what I'm saying. Like, Canucks fans are going to cynically view this situation and be like, oh, Tocchet bad, he's making the prospect worse. But I would honestly say that there's reasonable ammo to discuss whether or not Matvei Michkov is just going through a sophomore slump. If the Rick Tocchet commentary on how the guy needs to change his game is warranted because of what Michkov has provided on the ice. Now, you can say it's a feedback loop that will just reinforce itself the further you go along into the season, but still, this Rick Tocchet and Michkov narrative is not good for anybody, and it reigns very similarly to how the Vancouver Elias Pettersson situation did a few months ago. Some of the replies are going out there and saying, hey, just look at what happened to Kuzmenko to know what is going to happen to Michkov with Tocchet. He said the same thing about Pettersson. LOL. I give Michkov less than 2 years with Tocchet before one of them is gone. Guys, as a lifelong Flyers fan, we need to trust that Michkov is better off dumping and chasing. If you disagree, you don't know puck. And we have ourselves some replies. Scott Wheeler, national media member Scott Wheeler on The Athletic, went out there and said this: the way Rick Tocchet has talked about and used Michkov early on, I think comes from a place of misunderstanding. The team is 0-2. Michkov has been neutered. He's played 13 and 14 minutes. The coach keeps talking about how he needs to play north and says all of the top players play north. I don't know how you can watch Kucherov, Draisaitl, Marner, Kane, Panarin, Rantanen, Strome, Reinhart, Stone, Fox, Boldy, Bouchard, and come to the conclusion that the next development step for Michkov has to be downhill rather than leaning into his strengths. Michkov was a point-per-game paced player when Tortorella was fired. Rick Tocchet comes in, who is pretty much the same thing, and this is the result you get. You then had this reply by Derek Dunn. Michkov has 2 18-mile-per-hour bursts in 2 games. Last year he had 385 in 80 games. So I guess the actual data will support Matvei Michkov having slowed down. Literally, he's not skating as fast as he was compared to last year. Again, I'm not going to go out there and suggest that Rick Tocchet is making Michkov slower, but you might be able to consider whether or not that plays a part into what Tocchet's saying about the guy. So, ultimately, things are not looking good for Rick Tocchet and Matvei Michkov and how this situation has unfolded with the Philadelphia Flyers to open up the season. The guy has been neutralized, and Flyers fans are kind of hoping that he's going to get back on his horse. But with this system in place at the hands of Rick Tocchet, is Michkov going to be able to actually find it? Or are we due for an inevitable, unavoidable sophomore slump out of one of the best young Russian hockey players? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like this video if you enjoyed it at any point. If you didn't, then hey, the dislike button's there for you. Let me know in the comments all your opinions because comments help out with the algorithm. How do you feel about Matvei Michkov and this situation with the Flyers? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.